What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Taurean Rain Reloaded channel. As you can see, we are back with yet another collab. But before we get into everything, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you are new, hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I go live or upload a new video. Like and share. So as you can see, I am back with Blacklight Revelations 2 for another collab. Rob, how are you doing?
Doing good, bro. Ready to get into this. I'm interested to see what's going on with this video and where the hypothesis came from.
Right. And I'm gonna be honest to the audience. I already talked to Rob behind the scenes. He said he has not seen this video yet. However, I have seen it. So I already know what's going to be said. And I already pretty much have my takes laid out for the most part. But of course, you know how these collabs work. We pretty much bounce off of each other when it comes to the talking points of whatever the video is displaying. Now, this is a little bit different because usually, you know, whenever we do these type of collabs, or I guess you could say reaction type of videos, is usual people we go after. But this time we got a new entry, and it's a person I have talked about on my channel quite a bit or mentioned, and that is the amazing Lucas. And he uploaded a video recently entitled "Black Americans Have 5 Years Until Extinction." But before we actually get into it, Rob, let me know, just based off of the title, what do you think you're going to hear?
I don't think that he's actually going to be talking about quote unquote physical extinction. I think that he might. Amazing Lucas quotes Dr. Claude Anderson a lot. So I'm sure that this video that he made was probably inspired by a lot of the things that Dr. Claude Anderson said during his Powernomics speech, and a lot of the estimates of political irrelevancy that Dr. Claude Anderson had made. I don't think that he means literally, because I don't see any group of people literally being extinct within 5 years unless some type of existential event takes place, or if AI happens to wake up, or, you know, it seems like people are seeing a lot more aliens than they have in the past. Unless something like that happens, or
an asteroid comes crashing into the Earth.
Yeah, which is actually interesting because the Apophis asteroid is actually due to enter the Earth's orbit. I want to say maybe in like 3 years, which the Apophis asteroid is large enough to cause an event that would take like the impact of twice the ice age. But unless he's talking about something like that, I don't think he means as like a complete population absence. I think he's talking more about politically and financially, but I'm interested to see what he has to say.
Okay, that's a pretty good guess, honestly. But let's see what he's about to talk about.
This is some harsh truth. Oh my goodness. So I don't know about you guys, but I've been looking at the political landscape in this country, and it's not looking good. Maybe it's just me, but there seems to be a rampant uptick in anti-Black American events, demonstrations, sentiments. Whether you're going online, I think that's been amplified by social media, especially on Twitter. You can see this, you know, on Rumble and other, you know, outlier social media accounts and platforms. You see this in politics. You see this in present day in sentiments around the world, honestly, as far as how Black Americans are being treated. Now, the reason I say Black Americans is because Black immigrants who are coming from Africa to the country, well, they don't have the same propaganda hit pieces that Black Americans have suffered from. They don't have the same relationship with this country that we ourselves do in this country. So many Black immigrants are coming with I won't say a clean slate, but a different slate. They, you know, most of the stereotypes is that, hey, they come from poor, war-torn countries, and they're just coming over here to, you know, to make a living. That is very inherently different from the propaganda and the stereotypes that have been plagued against Black Americans that are still being perpetuated today. Now, I say that to say this, and that is, I very much know the Republican side. I was born conservative, grew up Republican, and I very much know the Democrat side, okay? The only way you can actually be a staunch and actual good Republican and conservative is, in fact, know everything about the other side. You know, whether it's, you know, to steel man your arguments, whether it's, you know, certain policy and the devil being in the details, whether it's to issues and complaints and grievances, whether it's to knowing what's going on in CNN and how they're manipulating the truth and whatnot. So I see it from both sides, and from both sides are anti-Black. It just is, it is what it is. And I stand by my recent statement of that, you know, Black Americans presently have it way worse than our ancestors. I stand by that because you have to take into account. I understand you may think of Jim Crow, you may think of segregation, you may think of lynchings and whatnot and all that. All of that was black and white. In present day, it's not so black and white. You know, when our ancestors were present, when they were living on this country, they knew who their enemies were because their enemies were pretty blatant with it. They were overtly, you know, anti-black with it, to the point where you can be in certain neighborhoods, not because you didn't feel unsafe, because it was the law. Okay, that's night and day from how it is being experienced today, because many are under the illusion of the inclusion, as Paul Mooney would say, and that black and white is now grayed out. It's now blurred. Now you have people who are fronting as friends. Now you have people under the guise of, hey, I'm just here to help. How they have helped, and I'm speaking of Democrats and Republicans, is to either to erase your identity, which is what the Republicans do, whereas, well, you're no longer black, you're an American. And it's like, that doesn't help me if black Americans have certain problems exclusive to that group, given our, you know, our exclusive relationship with this country. So it doesn't help to just eradicate my identity if my identity is attached with the problems that I experience, you know, in this country. And then you have the other side, the Democrats, who tend to group you in, people of color, BIPOC, you know, things of that. And they do that in order to, once again, do the same thing that the Republicans do, which is a form of erasing who you are. What's the point of having affirmative action if it doesn't exclusively help Black Americans, if it's not exclusively for Black Americans? Okay? Not everyone in this country experiences what Black Americans experience. One thing they love quoting, especially on the Republican side, is MLK. MLK says that, hey, I don't want to bastardize the quote, but essentially, hey, a great wrong has been done to a group of people. That means a great, you know, justice must be done. There has to be recompense for what the country has done to us as a people. I think that the left don't care and the right surely don't care. And that's what I've seen in my deep dive into this political structure. And based off of, you know, the patterns that I'm seeing, and the best way to determine the future is to look at the present and the past, okay? To look at, hey, have there been any pattern changes in what's going on? Have there been any behavioral changes in as the group? And the answer is no. So based off of my analysis, I would argue that Black Americans have at least, okay, maybe less, but at least 5 years until we are politically irrelevant.
Now, to those of y'all watching, this is probably the longest that we've gone before we pause the video to give our critique on anything.
Right.
And that's saying something, because he really hasn't said anything that really like jumped out at us to say, oh, he was wrong on that part. And it's funny that happened too, because, and I'm glad we're doing this today, because just yesterday, TD Hip Hop Media, and shout out to TD, had did a stream. And Rob, I think he was in there.
Yeah.
Where he was talking about the political spectrum or the voting patterns of Black people going back to the 60s. And he said that the pattern never, or the routine never changed. And now, ironically, today we're doing this video and Lucas literally just said the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like for those of y'all who are unaware what I'm talking about, TD Hip Hop Media did a live stream where he was talking about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I'm kind of paraphrasing it a little bit, and it was a chart, and it was showing the voting patterns of different groups for different presidential elections going all the way back to like the late 60s. And on that chart, it showed that every other group fluctuated on that chart as far as voting styles go. But when it came to Black people, ours pretty much stayed the same from the late 60s to now. And when I say percentage wise, I'm talking about 80% and higher. It never really ever went below 80%. And I think the highest I saw was 90, but then it went back to 80. And I think that was the only fluctuation it had, was that 90 back to 80 something. And it just kind of stayed that way, while every other groups, literally, if you look at the chart, it's constantly moving back and forth like a seesaw, while ours just kind of stays like a balanced scale.
Yeah, there's no volatility. There's no guesswork involved. I hate to use this as an analogy, but you know, actually, I'm not gonna use. I would do it on my channel, but I'm not. I don't want to disrespect your platform, Taurean. But like, if you know the results, and all you have to do is just wave, you know, a certain stimuli in front of someone, and you already had a result calculated. It's like classical and operant conditioning. You know what I'm saying? With Pavlov's dog response. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what you see when it comes to politics, or when it comes to voting, or even when it comes to responses to crimes against us. It's kind of just it's very predictable what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
TD Hip Hop Media in his video, like me and TD Hip Hop Media, we used to do a show on my channel back when Just Talking was on his channel. We used to have a show on my channel called Radiation Information, and on that channel or on that show, I used to talk about what I had considered the quote unquote post-supremacy era, and the post-supremacy era was going to be once a lot of these first and second generation quote unquote brown people become, you know, naturalized and acculturated to American culture, you're gonna see them start to replace white people. And when you see them start to replace white people, I'm not talking about in the way that Tucker Carlson is talking about replacement theory. I'm talking about it's gonna be them leading the white supremacy charge against black people, with FBA people, Freeman, ADOS being first, and, you know, following down the line of Africans and, you know, other black people. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that you can see that happening right now. You can see it happening in Chicago. You can see it happening in California with the whole Nuri Martinez situation. And I mean, you
Enrico
know,
Tarrio.
and Enrico Tarrio, yeah, or the Proud Boys, yeah, absolutely. So, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what people are expecting, and all of these situations goes back to that Powernomics video that Dr. Claude Anderson did way back in the day that Lucas is remixing here. In that one part where Dr. Claude Anderson was like, well, black people can't fight all these groups. Black people can't fight all these groups. You know what I'm saying? He stressed that point that black people can't fight all these groups. And what we're seeing is all of these groups, quote unquote, attacking us. Yeah. And the response is still the same. People still want to hold hands. I don't know what to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So we are politically extinct. Because I think I want to use harsh language so it gets to people, so that my message gets across. I say that because, you know, you had Dr. Claude Anderson in his book Powernomics, because I've read a lot of the books. I've read so many books, whether it's, you know, Before Columbus, Powernomics, you know, white was it Black Labor, White Wealth. I've read a lot of Dr. Claude Anderson and a lot of other authors. And Dr. Claude Anderson said by 2015 we're going to be a super minority. And I realized a lot of this messaging has been present. It was present before I got here on this planet. It was present during my parents' time. It was present before their parents' time, and yet nothing has occurred. As a group, we have excelled in a multitude of areas. But the problem is we have excelled as an employee, not an employer.
Can you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Lucas is talking about right now, is one of the things that I talk about as far as like those value chain networks. And my thing is that I understand what he's saying as far as quote unquote politically irrelevant, but in a world where politics is tied to economy and finance, as long as you have resources, power, and assets, you can never truly be politically irrelevant. So one way to circumvent other groups being artificially inflated and our numbers being artificially deflated is for people to build power behind value-added networks. Focusing on a certain sector of the economy and controlling and weaponizing that sector of the economy. There's some groups of people, quote unquote, ethnically, possibly, quote unquote, religiously, possibly, that are smaller in number here in the United States as well as globally compared to us, but they wield a lot of power and they have a lot of political influence. And the reason why is not because of their numbers, but because of their asset control and the ability to do damage and different things that they can do. So to me, that would be a good place for people to start focusing a lot of their energy and efforts, more so than politics. Because if we're going based on raw population numbers, I would have to say that Lucas and Dr. Claude Anderson are probably right. Now, the problem with going towards the value-added network route is that the resource availability for Black people is constantly decreasing, and it's approaching zero in 2053 if we're looking at money as a raw resource. So there would have to be some kind of way around that, and that kind of stuff takes studies. And the issue with quote unquote studies is that the government is not going to do those kind of studies for us. We're going to have to do those kind of studies on our own to figure out what it is what areas we need to hit and how hard we need to hit them. The government's not going to do those kind of studies because that's not in the interest of the government. The only studies that the government is going to do is going to be some kind of nonsense like HR 40 that they can dangle over people's head and get silly people to vote for that issue. Anything that we're going to do that's going to circumvent any of the issues that we have facing us has to be done by us on our own solely, or else it's not going to work. Because one of the reasons why a lot of the things that Lucas is saying haven't been done is because there's always a coalition, or there's always some type of, you know, intervention with the government, or there's always some kind of group effort involving other people, and other people are literally only there to sabotage that kind of stuff. They're not going to make it any better. Let me ask you a question. When it comes to any of these kind of coalitions, when have other people made it better versus how many times have other people led to the sabotage and demise of any kind of initiative people been starting?
Repeat that again.
When it comes to a lot of these coalitions, right, as far as efforts for political objectives, when there's coalitions or when there's allies, if you ask me, the allies usually contribute to the sabotage or demise of it. We haven't really been in a situation where we've really found solid allies to work with.
Yeah, okay. Now I better understand what you said when you mentioned allies. Now I completely get it. Sort of like when they tried to do that black and brown coalition thing.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, like, that's, you know, that sounds good in theory, but on paper it looks like something else. That's why I've been saying for a while. I said I truly believe equality is just a fancy word in the dictionary.
Yeah.
When you look at it in hindsight, remember back in the day they had something called a separate but equal doctrine. Even as a kid, when I first learned about that, I said that makes no sense.
Right.
How are you separate but equal? That's so confusing to me.
Right. Exactly.
That is heavily important as our existence on this planet. People want to talk about reparations and all these other issues. And I think people don't understand, especially us as a group, don't understand the political game. And that is crucial. I don't know why. I don't know what else to say, but it's crucial. Politics runs everything else. When you think of movies, music, entertainment, sports, athletics, whatever it is, it all goes around politics. Where you get to zone, even your house, your taxes, your mortgage, okay? Politics. Who's in charge? What policies they determine? Okay, whether it's on a local or on a federal level. And I think people need to understand this. And unfortunately, Black people we just don't understand this. I don't want to say we don't understand this.
Pause it for a second. Now you watch my content a lot, Taurean, so you know how I feel about this kind of stuff. But this is the kind of stuff that starts irking me when you have people that do this and they say, well, you know, we just don't understand this, we just don't understand that. To me, when people say that kind of stuff, it gives credence to a lot of the WS talking points. Like, we got channels out there like yours. We got channels out there on YouTube like TD Hip Hop Media. You know what I'm saying? Kid Gravity, Afro Elite, Jason Black. You know what I'm saying? Tariq Nasheed, which, if you know the history with Amazing Lucas and Tariq Nasheed, you know, Amazing Lucas ain't a Tariq Nasheed fan. But my thing is where are you getting this? Where would Lucas be getting this information that people, quote unquote, don't understand politics? Now, the thing is that he might reference the voting, you know, the percentages, one of the things that TD Hip Hop Media mentioned in that live stream that you referenced. But the thing is that all that is numbers, and all that does is show that those people voted for somebody versus didn't vote for somebody else. The motive is not shown. Their understanding of politics isn't shown. There's not a rationale given. So for him to make the blanket assumption that, quote unquote, Black people don't understand politics, there's 74,000 people on TD Hip Hop Media's channel that I'm certain most of which are Black, most of which understand politics. You got what, 62,000 on yours, which I'm sure they understand politics. Tariq Nasheed got what, like 220,000. Black Authority, between his two channels, got about 200,000. Professor Black Truth primarily talks about politics. He's got what, like 125,000. I mean, there's all of these channels that completely debunk what he's talking about as far as Black people not understanding politics. And then, you know, people may say that a lot of the black politicians are bootlicks, which we all know that they are. However, they have a job, and their job is in politics, which means that they have some understanding of something. Now, whether they're weaponizing their position and not doing what they should be doing with it, that doesn't say anything about their understanding of it. They know how, what's his name? Jim Clyburn knows how to utilize politics to get his family paid real well, and so does Maxine Waters. So people understand it. Now, are they doing the optimal actions? Are they doing what they should do? That remains to be seen. That's something that a study would have to be done on to actually show why people are voting for what. But for people to just jump in front of a bus and say black people don't understand this and black people don't understand that, you're literally giving credence to the low IQ talking points and the points that we can't establish advanced civilization and all of this nonsense that these people say. And it really boggles my mind when these people that are supposed to be, so supportive and so all about this and all about that are literally mirroring these WS talking points that you can sit down on Fox News and listen to. Like, you just did a video about Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza literally just said in different words the same thing that Amazing Lucas said. Dinesh D'Souza said, the Democrat voter base has the lowest IQ. Amazing Lucas is sitting up here making assertions about the majority of black people's cognitions. Like, you could, like, what I'm saying? Like, no offense to
and I keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And it's funny when you say Dinesh D'Souza, because like I said in that tweet, and actually to expound more on that tweet and my video, the person that he was responding to is in the GOP himself. I found that out after the fact. And because Dinesh D'Souza got in his feelings, he decided to throw black people under the bus, as he tends to always do.
Right.
And he properly, got dealt with because of it by myself and hundreds and maybe thousands of other people who saw what he said.
Right. But see, the thing that is interesting to me is how then, like, now see that tweet that Dinesh D'Souza made, I bet you Amazing Lucas will have something to say about that tweet. But then you turn around and say that exact same thing, but just
and that tweet was made. And that tweet, by the way, was made before he made this video.
Right, exactly. So it's just like, to me, like, that kind of language, it is what it is, and everybody's got freedom of speech, and I'm not with canceling and all of that. But to me, it's just Lucas is saying how important politics are. True. And politics is also about image. So if you want to put out an image, then you should put out an image of competency, not an image of incompetency. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we have been guided elsewhere. We have been led astray, essentially. And that is going to be to our demise, because you have to take this into account. I know many people may think I'm being hyperbolic, and I'm really not. That's the crazy part. I'm really not. When you think about immigrants, I don't care if there's African or Mexican. Okay, I think this whole issue with Black Americans versus Africans, I think that's dumb, beyond dumb. And I think, honestly, that's an FBI or a governmental ploy if we want to go conspiratorial route. But that's the same ploy and the tactics that they've used since we got here. It's to divide and conquer, right? The house slave versus the field Negro, right? The light skin versus the dark skin. They've done these tactics in order to divide. And by dividing, you can't organize. And if you can't organize, then you can't strategize. And if you can't strategize, then you can't execute on a plan. And if you can't execute on a plan, then you are always going to be fodder for every other group. That's how it's going to be. And if you look at the sentiments, whether it comes to Mexicans, Hispanics, whatever you want to argue, there's no such thing as Hispanics, that's irrelevant. That's another thing. You have a lot of black Americans arguing about mundane and moot points, arguing about Juneteenth, arguing about, reparations need to be done with this way. Moot points. If you don't control who is writing the paper for reparations, if you don't control who's going to be passing or signing the reparations bill, then you're going to get whatever they give you. That's how that works. So I think a lot of this needs to be backwards engineered. But one thing I realize is that it's very cultish behavior, that Black Americans have been divided into sects, certain groups where I follow this person and that person is wrong, but then that person says that person's wrong. And once again, it's division. And if you are divided, as I said before, there's no organizing, there's no planning, there's no executing. So everything you want, and honestly, the irony of all this is that many of these groups, many of these segments, whether it's FBA, ADOS, Black Americans, whatever it is, they all want the same thing. That's the comical part. Is that once you start listening to many of these groups, like, we all want the same thing, right? We all want Black empowerment. That's the whole. That's what we all want. But they all have issues and conspiracies, and you have egos of people who want to, you know, oh, I want to be the leader, or I want to be the figurehead, or I want to do this. And it's honestly a mess. And that wouldn't be an issue had we
So
had
here's my question:
a leader.
who and what is he talking about?
When I watched this video and I saw this part right here, I knew exactly who he was talking about. He didn't have to say a name. I knew exactly who he was talking about, and you said his name.
Oh, so you think that he's sneak dissing Tariq?
I truly believe so, especially if you keep listening on to what he's going to say. It's something else that he says that literally solidified that's who he was referring to.
So I remember,
because for a while everyone kept saying that Tariq is the leader of FBA, and he has to constantly say there is no leader. Right. FBA is a lineage. How can you be the leader of a lineage? That's what they've been trying to tack onto him for quite some time.
Right.
And we got to like constantly, he has to constantly push back and say there is no leader. How can you be the leader of a lineage? You don't have a leader of Mexicans, or a leader of white people, or a leader of Native Americans, or a leader of Asians. How can this person be the leader of a lineage?
Right. And the thing that's interesting is that it's just again, like, you know, it's with Lucas, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's quoting Dr. Claude Anderson, and Dr. Claude Anderson was one of the first people, not the first person, but one of the first people to do the delineation with Native Black Americans. And the specific reason for that delineation was to set up bureaus like the Freedmen Bureau and stuff like that, and to also set up a way to start working for a case for reparations, which has been something that Dr. Claude Anderson has been doing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, as far as that goes, right? Like, my thing is, what Lucas is saying, I agree with a lot of what he's saying, but none of it matters if he doesn't have a solution, or, you know, a plan like he's talking about, right? Like, he's saying that, you know, there's people that are not, you know, whatever, leading properly or whatever. Okay, it is what it is. We could argue and say that the United States isn't being led properly. My question is, what solution do you have that's better, more efficient, and higher probability of achieving the goal than what's currently going on right now? You know what I'm saying?
And you talk about that all the time on your channel. Like, you always ask, like, what is the solution? And usually when that question comes up, the person who brings all the issues, they never have an answer for that question right there.
Never have an answer for that question. They never have an answer for that question. And that's the most important part. My thing is I don't agree with everything that Tariq says. I don't agree with everything that Professor Black Truth says. I don't agree with everything that TBA says. I respect them for what they do. You know what I'm saying? But as men, people aren't going to agree on everything, right? So like, my thing is that most grown, mature men understand that point. And my thing is, I don't, all of these attacks, I don't really see them all going on. What I do see is the individuals aforenamed actually being attacked. I see that. I see people making streams about Tariq Nasheed all day long. You know what I'm saying? I see people sneak dissing all day long. You know, I don't really see all of these attacks. Now, some of these individuals may not get along. You know what I'm saying? You know, like Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson had the beef, and then, you know, there was the beef with the FBA and the ADOS thing. But I mean, for the most part, I don't think any of that stuff is really going on right now. Like, none of those beefs are really popping right now. So I don't understand, like, if those beefs aren't popping and those beefs aren't really causing any issues with what's going on politically, I don't understand what the reason would be to stir up those kind of things. And then there's people that haven't ever been involved in those kind of beefs that actually do political content and these kind of topics as well. So for Lucas to bring that up as a point of contention, the only thing that okay, like, you brought this up, what's your solution to it? What are you going to do to make it better? You know what I'm saying?
Right. But who knows? We only 9 minutes and 51 seconds in.
That's
of a
true.
19-minute and a 44-second video. So it might be a solution in there.
It might.
We'll see.
And I know Asians don't have any leaders. Whites don't have any, I guess, leaders, you could say, that I'm going to lead the party, or I'm going to lead white people. You know, Mexicans don't have that. But that's them. That's fine because they have people who advocate on their behalf as a group. Mexicans have people who advocate, who are in positions of power, who advocate on their behalf as a group. Whites surely have people who advocate on their behalf as a group. Chinese have, or Asians, whatever, have people who advocate on their behalf as a group. We don't have that.
And this is my first time having to pause it before you say pause it. Ironically, I just said what I said when I said that there's no leader of any group. And he said it like right after I said it.
Facts.
And then he says that Asians, Mexicans, white people, they have people who advocate for them. And guess what? Most of the people that be advocating for them to get them stuff are white people.
Mm-hmm.
Look at I did a video, as a matter of fact, last month, back in May, I think it was, where for them folks, that these senators, like these state senators, were advocating to get some kind, some more restitution, quote unquote, for them.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, were PC.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 5 in total. All of them
Yep.
were PC. When it came to the anti-Asian hate crime bill, who signed it? Joe Biden, a white man. Who's helping to get all these illegal immigrants over here? White people.
Yep.
So,
who's helping to get that AAPI history class into the schools while simultaneously deleting the Black history class?
The snowflake, aka another PC individual.
Right. Like
so you're seeing the pattern here. Granted, none of these groups have leaders like he said, and like I said, but the ones who are getting them stuff all tend to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because Asians didn't sign that anti-hate crime bill. They probably had some signatures, but they didn't put it, they couldn't get it through themselves. Get those illegal immigrants over here, all they just had to do was get on the bus.
Yeah.
And they let them right on in.
Yeah.
And any other group that got something, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Black people, like they not signing nothing for, they actually did. We're going to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. We're going to give you a Juneteenth concert.
Now, here's my question. Do you agree with him that we don't have people that advocate for us?
We have people that should be advocating for us, but they don't. And that, the CBC.
Right.
They want to advocate for POC. All the other groups that are getting something, they advocate for them.
So when he says the people that advocate for us and we don't have those, he's talking about elected officials. He's not just talking about people who are doing advocacy.
Yeah, I think like elected officials, like because all the people that are doing stuff for other people, like they're politicians in some capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, like they're in some kind of political seat. Okay. Whether they are like for DeSantis, he's a governor. Those senators who are doing that stuff for them folks, senators. Joe Biden, president. Gotcha. So, yeah.
So if we don't have anyone in a position of power to advocate on behalf of us, that means we need to organize as a people. Unfortunately, as I said previously, there are segments within, we've been segmented and fragmented, thus leading to an inability to organize, especially to a point where it's actually going to cause an impact. I'm not talking about a little group for a rally here, or a little group for a rally here, or a little group for a convention here.
That's the part where I knew he was really, that's when I knew he really was subliminally talking about Tariq. Rally convention. Right. What happened in November? The rally for reparations. What happened in May? The FBA Expo convention.
Like, here, I don't know. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I mean, if it's something you feel like you need to say.
My thing is like all of these people, right, that have all this smoke for Tariq. My thing is, if they feel that Tariq is not doing an effective job, right, why don't they do Tariq's job better than what they feel Tariq is doing and demonstrate by showing their work?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, my thing is that I don't think what Tariq does is his job. I think that that's something that he does because he wants to do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
And
Yeah,
I
he's not.
think,
It's not like he's on a payroll.
yeah, I don't think that he's on a payroll other than, whatever it is that he may get from his projects that he undertakes.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with undertaking the projects. Do I agree with all of Tariq's talking points? No, I don't. I don't agree with a lot of everybody's talking points at all. But the issue is, is there a net positive effect versus is there a net negative effect?
Yeah.
And I honestly think that Tariq, despite his shortcomings, and nobody's perfect, everybody has shortcomings, I think that he has a net positive effect. I wouldn't say that he has a net negative effect. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my thing is, I think Lucas actually has a net positive effect too. But when you fall into this whole thing of, you have a little bit of built-in animosity, and you kind of want to start off talking about, political relevancy, and then it turns into a sneak diss video instead of just, explaining solutions to how we can circumvent the political irrelevancy. It's that's kind of the rabbit hole of the kind of content that I don't like to engage in. You know what I mean? Not saying that I don't want to finish this reaction video, because I absolutely do. You know what I'm saying? But that's just not content that you would see me making, because maybe in his journeys, because we all know Lucas is on a journey, maybe he's still stuck in the Claude Anderson books and he hasn't gotten to the Neely Fuller Jr. section yet,
or the Black Bible, as I like to call it.
Yeah, or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and he would see that, this is kind of not really productive. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of a form of divide and conquer as well. Right. I don't really see Tariq Nasheed or anybody going on a limb to say, well, Lucas, you got a history too, bro. Nobody's really doing that. I mean, like, people might reference it in passing and all that, but like, I mean, if we're pulling up dirt on people, everybody got a pass. Everybody got, I mean, and nobody got a clean slate.
Yeah, even when I like do mention like the amazing Lucas in passing in my videos, which I'm sure you and everybody who's watching right now have heard me mention his name before, I've said that it's just crazy of the 180 that he made over a year ago, like about 2 years ago. It's like, he saw the light, so to speak, after what occurred. But I do truly believe that there is still some remnants there, and some of it is coming out in this video.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know, but like, man, like I said, Lucas used to hang out with what's that dude named Milo Yiannopoulos. He went to that Straight Pride with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he actually did a video where he mentioned how like ecstatic he was that he was blocked by Tariq Nasheed. So again, like, people change, right? And like, change is allowed. So you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, no, my thing is that now that you're feeling this way, because I've heard comments that he's made on live streams about Phil Scott too. You know what I'm saying? And like, my thing is like, okay, like, now that you're feeling froggy, I guess now you're going to be one of those people that's going around telling everybody how to be black. And it's like, bro, you need to dial it down, because like, just last year you was at the Straight Pride parade hanging out with actual alt-right people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I get it. I have critiques about everybody too, and I wish that I could take over the world, which is one of the reasons why I say world domination is the only solution, and make things flow the way that I want them to. But you got to get to that point in your maturity that you have to understand that there's politics inside of politics.
Yeah.
And maybe if you don't get along with somebody, or maybe if you don't agree with somebody, you kind of do an internal mechanism and not really say those kind of things to the public, unless you see somebody as an absolute detriment. And my thing is that none of the people that he's alluding to, I don't see them as an absolute detriment. I believe that, again, like, I'm not like most of these people who feel that black people are incompetent and don't understand this and don't understand that and don't understand politics. I believe that most people are competent and make sound decisions based on the information that they have and the logic that they've come up with on their own. So, I think that most people know what to accept as reasonable information and what people know to kind of cut off and not really pay attention to. So my thing is that Amazing Lucas does a good job at political commentary. Do the political commentary, voice your concerns, and don't really do the smear campaigns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also like doing those videos against those who like are very heavily right leaning, that be saying a bunch of BS sometimes. Like when he was going in on Steven Crowder, I can tell you that was some of the best videos I've seen him do.
Right. And
When
the
he
thing
was,
is,
I got a good. I'm gonna be honest. I was thoroughly entertained doing, and that's the only that was the only reason I knew about Steven Crowder was because of his videos. Because I wasn't paying attention to Steven Crowder at all. Like that's not someone who I watch. He doesn't pop up in my recommended. Thank
right.
God the algorithm is actually working. But I didn't know about his personal issues with his wife or his estranged wife until I saw Lucas do a video on it. And I was like, this Steven Crowder is even more of a crappy person than I already gave him credit for.
Mm-hmm. And like the thing is that, you know, and again, I'm not trying to say this to throw any shade on Lucas, because like I said, I watch Lucas's content. I enjoy Lucas's content. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to throw any shade on him.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to wonder, is the animosity, you know, to react to those people's videos, the people on the right, is it coming from the same place as somebody like me and you? Because me and you, we're coming from the place of where, you know, we disagree with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas being somebody who was actually on that side at one point in his life, I mean, it could actually just be rejection envy, or you know what I mean? Like, who knows where the energy for that is actually coming from.
One thing that I said I had appreciated, so to speak, was that I could take his word on these individuals because he used to hang with them.
Right.
So he knew how they were outside of social media.
Right.
He knew who like the real Candace Owens is, or the real Fakem is, or Steven Crowder. He hung with these people. He knew exactly how they operated offline. So he would be a person that you would go to almost like an inside man when it comes to these type of individuals and how they really and truly are.
Right.
And when he knows when they're putting on a facade.
Right.
So I did give him credit in that regard.
Absolutely.
Because we ain't going out to hang out with them people.
Nah.
I'm talking about numbers. That's what I'm talking about. No one cares about little groups. They care about numbers. That's what's going to cause a sway, an actual movement. Those little groups add up into bigger groups and bigger groups and bigger groups. So maybe it may be one group over here and one group over there, but if they're all connected, it becomes a network. It becomes a beehive of little smaller groups that make up a bigger network. As I've seen, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. There are a lot of external factors. There are a lot of internal factors. You have people who are constantly preying on the community under the guise of, hey, I'm the one that knows best. I'm the one that's helping you. They're the ones that are, are agents and yada, yada. And I'm family and this and that. And I've seen it so many times by this person or that person or this person, that person. And, nothing has changed. When it comes to politics, nothing has changed. And there's a lot of complaints, but no one's doing anything. Let me elaborate what I mean by that. What I mean by that is that there have been a variety of stories that have come up, okay? And the stories have been swept under the rug. You had most recently the black girl whose body was mutilated by officers and the charges were dropped. There was another video that I saw of this white woman who was I think it was in New Orleans, and this black man was berating her, talking about, hey, why did you block the block? Why'd you block the block to have a block party and yada, yada. And let me just say, when it comes to that, that's not how you handle that situation, okay? Moving forward, black men, if you handle a situation like that, you're going to be 6 feet under, because 9 out of 10, what's going to happen if the gentrification has gotten to that point, best believe it's going to affect the police departments and it's going to affect the local representatives. Best believe that. Okay, that's just how that works. So what's going to happen is they make a call to the police, and you may have lived there all your life. You may know everyone there, and those people will change. They will be new people. I don't know about you, but I've been in that situation where you're grown accustomed to a certain way, to a certain behavior where they're treating you, as a customer or as a citizen. And now there's a new person in office and they don't know you. And now their first interaction with you is you've been called because now you're harassing this innocent white woman, and the tears are going to come. And now you're put in the herd with the rest of them. Oh, now you're a criminal. Because once again, our representation is nowhere to be seen. Our representation as a group of people is in the hands of everyone who doesn't look like us. Is in the hands of everyone who not only doesn't look like us, but also maligns us and really has disdain for us. So you have to understand where you are in this country. Nevertheless, you have situations like that where gentrification is in fact happening. And it's going to get to the point where you have another George Floyd, you have a Breonna Taylor, or you have another incident and no one cares. It's as simple as that. That sentiment that is so palpable on the right, where it's, hey, you're a criminal, you should have just obeyed the law. I don't care what happens. That incident where it happened on the subway, where that dude snuffed out that man's life due to him, him perceiving a threat, guess what? There isn't going to be any pushback to that moving forward. I'm letting you know that is the future that we have in store. If we do not, within the next 5 years, work together in these political streets. It's as simple as that. We don't get good at the political game, it is going to be game over within the next 5 years. Because best believe the millions of illegals who are here right now, there is going to be amnesty. It's going to happen. In the future, best believe it's going to happen. You have to take into account a lot of the animus of other groups towards us. Our inability right now to organize for what really matters. That's what you also have to understand. What really matters, not this frivolous nonsense that most people are, clouding the Twitter sphere or clouding, Clubhouse or YouTube or whatever it is. None of that matters. At the end of the day, as a group, the progress as us as a group is what matters. And no one cares. That's also what you have to understand. I understand when it comes to hip hop, because I've noticed a lot of Black Americans, we have a certain bit of pride, and it's just pride. Best believe it's just pride. However, you also have to understand that no one cares. When it comes to hip hop, no one cares how much Black influence Black Americans had, or if it originated from Black Americans. It doesn't matter. You want to know who gets to decide? The victors. You want to know who gets to decide history? The winners. And the people who control the media can come out with a different narrative that, hey, you know what? Who created hip hop? Asians actually created hip hop. And who are you? You can tweet about it. You can argue about it. But guess what? They'll block you off of Twitter. They'll block you off of Instagram. They'll block you off of their platforms. And at the end of the day, say a few tweets get out. Say a few posts or videos get out. So who are they going to believe? A random Twitter account, a random video, a random Instagram, or what's on the idiot box? You lose that 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, you lose that. And they know that. And God forbid, let's say there is some government interference. They already know this. COINTELPRO, these are tactics that have already been implemented and executed with success. I think Black people as a whole, us as a whole, we got to step back. We got to take a step back and really understand what is seriously important. Because if not, if we don't do anything within this next 5 years, the best advice I can give to Black Americans is to learn Spanish. That's the best advice, is to learn Spanish or Mandarin. I respect Dr. Umar with the passion. I respect everyone else who's trying to help. Because I think a lot of the people who are actually trying to help and, push the group forward, they're being silenced. You don't know about these people. There are people probably locally that are making moves, and you don't know about them because the media is not mentioning them. What the media mentions are people who they have in their back pocket. Unless that happens, unless there is someone, a leader, some type of movement, some serious impact, some serious moves need to be made. If that doesn't happen, then to each his own. That's how this is going to work. It's going to be dog eat dog for Black Americans, okay? You may love your fellow brother, but if it's between you and your fellow brother, you have to worry about yourself. You're going to have to worry about your family, whatever that family is. I don't care if it's white, Black, Asian, Italian, Mexican, it doesn't matter. Whatever your family is, you're going to have to worry about them because that's how it's going to be. Anyways, guys, that's the video.
So that's pretty much it.
So what's your final thoughts?
Now it's going into the outro.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
What's your final thoughts
on everything that he just said, or just that last part?
Well, how about do the last part and then a summary?
So he's saying in 5 years we will be politically extinct. So it's what, 2023 now, and that's in 2028 that we will be politically done. Then he said we better learn Spanish or Mandarin. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of it sounds like a bit of a reach.
Yeah, definitely fear porn.
Yeah. Because that's like an interesting prediction.
My thing is
to say 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, 5 years. Not that's one presidential cycle and a year after that.
Yeah. Because the 2024 election next year.
Mm-hmm. So, like the likelihood of that, but the thing is that it is possible, right? And the thing that I find interesting is like a lot of the things that he listed are not really things that I would think would cause existential events for Black people. One of the major things that I think will cause an existential event for Black people first and then the rest of the world later is artificial intelligence.
AI.
I think that artificial intelligence is more of a threat than immigration because you can put immigration in place legally. once artificial intelligence is able to start self-upgrading, it's not going to stop. And it'll be upgraded to the point to where not only will it be able to do simple jobs, it'll be able to start doing complex jobs. So you will take away positions that require a high school diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD. Now we're talking about machine surgeries being done, specialty things like flying drones and different things like that. Soon the airlines won't even have pilots. The cars won't have, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So now as artificial intelligence escalates, lower level and mid-level jobs for people start to vanish, which is a huge problem. You know what I'm saying?
It's happening now. Like like that. And I talked about it before. I talked about last year, as a matter of fact, that McDonald's down there in Texas is the first fully automated McDonald's. Like, it has no employees in there. You literally have to drive through the drive-through to get your food. Like, they actually showed a video on TikTok how it operated. And now I had said then, I said, oh, this is only the beginning. I can't wait to see what the next one is. And sure enough, a couple months later, they have an automated drive-through at a Wendy's.
Oh yeah.
I said, oh, Burger King might be next, and then Taco Bell, and then KFC, and so on and so forth. So they'll start with the fast food chains first, and then they'll move into like your dine-in type of spots.
Yeah.
And it's game over after that.
Game over. Yeah. And so my thing is that like I don't know, like these, like my question is, what are the solutions at the end of the video? Black Americans have 5 years until extinction. Okay, now what? Because the thing is, and then he hammers in the point that we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what path we're on. All of this lost stuff. We need somebody to save us and all of this stuff. Me personally, I don't believe that. I believe in an internal locus of control. I believe that self-determination and control of your own circumstance are key to your advancement in the world, in the universe, in civilization, in anything. You know what I'm saying? So for, this whole lost shepherd thing and we need some kind of messiah, I disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, that's completely against everything that I stand for. So my thing is that I'm down to entertain what Lucas is saying, but where he's lacking at are the solutions. What if you do feel this way? If you feel that Black people are inherently not politically apt, my question is, aside from your YouTube content, it's going to be the same question that I ask any Black conservative. What kind of outreach are you doing? You know what I mean? What kind of education are you putting together? Or are you suggesting these kind of things? You know what I'm saying? Right. Are you telling people about industries where the jobs aren't at risk to be taken over by immigration or artificial intelligence? Because initially, immigration and artificial intelligence are coming for the same tier of jobs. So while the immigration thing is going on and that's in everybody's face, artificial intelligence is creeping up and people aren't really paying attention to it. But artificial intelligence and immigrants are coming for the same tier of jobs. It's just that people aren't really talking about artificial intelligence as much. You know what I'm saying? So, is Lucas encouraging people to get into STEM? Is he encouraging people to start learning more about artificial intelligence and machine learning and neural netting and blockchain and different things like that? Like, what are you doing? As far as being politically irrelevant, right? We can look at how other groups of people who have more power use their power. You know what I'm saying? There's some groups of people that have assets, resources, business networks, and different things like that. How do we build a network? What area of the economy can we focus on to try to have a 51% market share of, that we could weaponize that section of the economy to do what our vote can? You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, those are things that are extremely important. If you ask me, like, one of the things that he didn't talk about that Dr. Claude Anderson talks about is vertical integration when it comes to business. And we don't have any beginning to end supply chains. That's something important. We don't have the raw resources. We don't have the logistics chain, and we don't have the end destination distribution. And setting up vertical integration in multiple industries is something that should be looked into. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of solutions that can be looked at that would actually, improve our situation as far as dealing with some of these problems. But if we just go for the fear porn, and if we attack, other people who have a similar message, I don't know what that's actually going to do to stop any estimated extinction that Amazing Lucas may think is imminent. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I don't know, really. It's some things he said that made sense, but it was some that was kind of like real off the wallish.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I think it's just urgency. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Lucas is on this. It's just my observation. It seems like Lucas is on this crash course of trying to come into this consciousness or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like my thing is that, me personally, I don't think people ever really come into consciousness until until your heart stops. But that's just me and my crazy ideas. You know what I'm saying? But I think he's on this crash course to come into consciousness. So now he reads this information that Dr. Claude Anderson has put out with the estimates, and Dr. Claude Anderson is an economist, so he's going to be working with a lot of numbers and basing his estimates on factors. You know what I'm saying? And so I think Lucas sees this. He looks at a majority of content and things going on social media, because social media is primarily what he does. And he says, oh my goodness, there's these people going back and forth on TikTok, and instead of talking about politics, they're talking about jerk chicken. They're talking about hip hop, so like nobody's doing what they're supposed to do. Meanwhile, skipping Professor Black Truth's videos. Meanwhile, skipping TD Hip Hop Media's videos. Meanwhile, skipping your videos. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what kind of content are you being exposed to where you're drawing these conclusions? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty interesting breakdown. Like I said, like I told people before we got started, this is going to be a little bit different compared to the other breakdowns. Of course, with those we got our little cheap laughs in there, but this one you really didn't hear Rob and myself laugh.
Yeah,
like I think we was more serious about this one.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, because this was a pretty serious topic. Yeah, and I do think that Lucas brought up some legit points in the video. I don't want like it to seem like I'm just trashing the video, or like I'm just saying like he's not making any sense at all or anything, because he is making a lot of sense. But my question is, again, like, I hear it, I feel it, I'm not mad at the video. My question is now, what's going to reflect in your content that is going to show and prove that your ideas are effective? Because I'm down for whatever. Like me personally, like, if somebody got a good sales pitch, I'll listen. You know what I'm saying? But now, is the product actually going to work the way that it's intended to work? That remains to be seen.
Right. All I'm gonna say is just cut the check.
Right.
Like seriously, that's all. Like, that's really all that needs to be said, in my honest opinion, is to cut the check. I should say cut the checks with an S.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, all of that could literally turn everything around overnight.
Right. No, I agree.
Or start to turn things over, I should say.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, my thing is that Lucas didn't address in the video, because he did mention reparations. He doesn't address the fact that, like, the United States government is created and meant to maintain the status quo as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that the United States does, whatever they do, is going to be lined in poison. You know what I'm saying? So my thing that I would like to hear a video from Lucas about is, knowing that anything that the United States does is going to be lined in poison, how should we navigate the political landscape to minimize the damage from that poison?
Right. Exactly. That's why I'm doing this Black Massacre series right now, because like when you look back through history, I keep thinking to myself, where would we be today if our towns were not destroyed.
Right.
Not one town was destroyed. If our prosperous communities were able to just thrive back then, where would we be today?
I don't think
one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest what if questions I've ever had.
Oh, I know where we'd be. It's not a matter of where would we be. It's a matter of where would everybody else be, and everybody else wouldn't be in a comfortable position, which is one of the reasons why they're so invested in keeping the status quo the way that it is.
Right. Exactly. But anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. This is probably one of our shortest reactions so far. We came in at under an hour. This is not including the post commentary that we just gave. But yeah, definitely, you know, shout out to you, Rob, for coming back on here to do another, I guess you could say, collab reaction style
I
video.
look forward to these, man. Anytime.
I do too. I do too. And I love when people ask us to do, you know, these type of videos. That just shows that they appreciate our takes and our opinions on different things. But with that being said, we are about to get up out of here. If y'all have not again done so already, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. If you're new, hit the bell twice to be notified. Hit the like and share button. Also make sure to subscribe to Black Light Revelations 2 channel, because he has a good wealth of knowledge over there. And like I said, he hits hard. I'll put it like that. Y'all think that sometimes I be going in like he might say some things that'll hurt your feelings, but it's tough love. I'll put it like that. It's tough love. Sometimes you need a good swift kick in the ass.
And yeah, it's never meant to be like
out of malice.
No, it's literally because like I have really high expectations, and I do believe that we're capable of dealing with any situation that comes in front of us. It's just a matter of, you know, properly dealing with it and making sure that we have everything in place to deal with the things and the barriers that have been put in front of us. Because I believe that we can deal with anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
With that being said, we about to be out.